How did he die?
The entirety of a second passes before I realize I am the one that Azur is addressing. Lord, I'm careful to keep my voice deferential, well aware that the eyes of the rest of the warband are turning to scrutinize me. I should be far below the regard of one such as Azur, yet having unintentionally captured his attention, the ire of his favored warriors is making itself known in subtle shifts of posture and in the activating clicks of private Vox channels.
The Imperial Fist whose helmet you bear as your sole trophy. How did he die?
I look down and lift the battered yellow helm hanging from a brazen chain affixed to my weapons belt. Standing amongst Chaos Marines whose spiked battleplate is bedecked with the helms and skulls of dozens of defeated foes, my solitary war prize must seem an unusual and insignificant thing in comparison. Perhaps this is why Azur suddenly deigns to notice it. This is not the helm of an Imperial Fist, I say, wishing he would turn his gaze elsewhere.
Oh?
Azur settles back in his command throne and beckons for me to approach him.
Illuminate me then.
I step from the throng of his men, feeling their hostility brewing like a storm at my back. I am not one of Azur's brothers, not in truth. The survivors of my former warband were absorbed into his, following our own master's defeat. I and 6 of my brothers were given the choice between servitude and slow execution. My brothers are long dead, their bones bleaching on forgotten battlefields in service to Azur's insatiable ambitions. I alone remain, a distrusted outsider, regarded as little more than a glorified captive in power armor, despite having proved my worth in countless engagements. I hold a helmet reverently in my hands. This is the helm of a great hero, I say with perfect sincerity.
Ah.
Azur's voice is laden with cold contempt.
One of the deluded, self-righteous champions of the Corpse Emperor.
Not quite, Lord. Rather, he was the sort of hero the downtrodden masses of humanity look to for salvation, when men such as us descend upon their worlds like ravening wolves. He did not fall attempting to seize glory for himself or his chapter. He fell trying to keep my former brethren from breaching the doors of a bunker full of cowering civilians.
What a pathetic way for a space marine to die.
Azur snorts in disgust.
And you were the one who put an end to his miserable life.
He was the last of his squad. His battle brothers lay dead about him, though they had made a good account of themselves despite being grievously outnumbered. Alone, he stood his ground before the bunker's armored doors, covered in so much blood the yellow of his ceramite could hardly be seen. His bolter was spent, and his sword had been broken. It was indeed a pathetic sight, and yet it was also somehow inspiring.
Inspiring?
I nod. There was no hope for him, and he knew it. He knew he had failed, and that the wretched humans he and his brothers had squandered their lives to protect would be taken, either to be sacrificed to the gods or enslaved aboard our warships. Yet he still stood there, wounded unto death, defying us, even as we cut him down with our bolters. He roared his chapter's war cry as he collapsed, a war cry I have never forgotten, and he was still struggling to rise when the locking mechanisms disengaged and the bunker doors began to grind open. Closing my eyes, I lose myself in the memory. And the civilians came rushing out like floodwaters, pouring through a burst dam. Hundreds of them, men, women, children, even pet canids. In a tide they charged, screaming out the fallen Marines' war cry at the top of their voices. We had just enough time to form up and empty our bolters into the first, second, and third ranks, mowing them down like chaff. Yet they kept coming. They broke against us, and we began laying about with our chain blades. It was utter slaughter. The mortals assailed us without giving a second thought to their own survival. And so they died, not as sacrifices, nor as slaves, but as warriors fighting to the last, taking their Space Marine protectors' defiance as their own example. Azur is silent. Perhaps my tale is boring him. After the butchery had ended, I located the loyalist Astartes buried beneath a carpet of dead civilians. I flung their corpses from him, then wrenched the helm from his head. His beautiful countenance marked him as one of Sanguinius' sons, and the faint smile on his lips was that of a man who had died at peace, his duty fulfilled. It was an expression I had never seen on the faces of my own brothers, living or dead, and in that moment I envied him, for he had been of purpose. I could not bring myself to desecrate his body, so I took only his helm as a reminder of our conflict, and I have carried it with me ever since. Azur sneers, unimpressed.
So, the helm is not in truth a trophy, but rather a keepsake. How touching.
Squaring my pauldrons, I look the Warband's overlord directly in the eye lenses. Call it what you wish, Azur. But know this, the Space Marine who wore it was twice the warrior you and all your bastard brothers will ever be. I hear the ring of steel as blades are drawn behind me. Azur's voice drops to a dangerous growl.
Tell me one last thing. This great hero, what was his chapter's war cry?
I am grinning, even as I turn to confront his followers, my mind filled with visions of last stands and hopeless struggles against impossible odds. For those we cherish, we die in glory!